the tolerant and accepting people, and that's when the problem started.
Yeah, exactly. Because the problem was that I was thinking that there is a problem with me, but there was not a problem with me, and there's not a problem with you or anyone else that you are more feminine being a male or you're more masculine being a female, What does it mean anyways? I found a magical group that solved all my problems. The Gay Awareness Day, or whatever it was called, at the beginning of the school year in the Netherlands. There was this person that identified as queer, I believe, or gender fluid or whatever, with just colorful hair, and we chatted for a while, and she said that you can come and meet some people. Maybe you never had anyone in Poland, that would understand you and stuff. And that's how I got hooked, because she seemed so friendly and accepting and stuff, and I got sucked.
Okay, hello, Natalia. So just so everyone knows, Natalia is contributing to the 12th of March Detrans Awareness Day for GenSpect, and Natalia is based in Poland. Natalia is not part of the Detrans support group, but we did meet through some associates. And I wanted to speak to Natalia because she's got her own path into this whole mess that she wanted to talk about specifically, because it's everyone has their own story, and I think that was important for me this year to make sure that people hear the individual stories, because I think what's happening is a lot of people are using like statistics and studies to explain what's happening to this population, but at the end of the day, there's individual journeys that are happening, and that's really what the other people that are questioning their gender, that's what they need to hear. Because we're learning that the people that are questioning their gender don't really want to hear about studies and stats and all that stuff. So that's why I'm doing these interviews, and I'm submitting them to GenSpect for their approval. So hopefully this will get approved. Okay. But Natalia, we spoke yesterday already, and there were a couple of things that you said that I thought were really interesting. But I'm going to let you talk. I think it's important for you to give your background, how you came into this.
All right. So I'm Natalia, I'm Polish, I'm 31 now. And the whole, let's say, trans story started when I was around 21, 22. I was living back then in Belgium, and I got involved into a trans online community, Polish trans community. And that's where it started. So I don't know how far should I go into my history. So maybe you can help me out.
As far as you want. I mean, I know there was something that you mentioned. We don't have to talk about other people, but I think there's some people think that, and I know this isn't true, but some people think that people who have gender dysphoria have trauma, and that's not necessarily true. And I've seen that with some of the males, where they actually have a perfectly normal childhood, and the gender dysphoria comes anyway. So do you want to?
To be honest, I think oftentimes like FTM, so females to males, and MTFs have quite different reasons for transitioning. Yeah. That's what I've observed. And I see that majority of people transitioning early in life are FTMs, so female to male. That's my observation. I might be wrong, but
really? No, I think you're right, Joe.
That's what I've seen from the forums, and yes. To be honest, I think it's just quite easier to play a boy when you're a girl than other way around. That's also another observation. But what was the question? I'm sorry, I got a bit.
Well, just to debunk this thing that people
get trauma,
gender dysphoria from trauma, yeah.
Okay, so I never experienced anything like sexual harassment and stuff, unless you count into that some bullying at school and kind of, sexual jokes that are so prevalent in schools, right? The whole culture that is being just sexualized. And so I was, as we spoke yesterday, I was kind of a tomboy. At some point, I just cut my hair short, not because I wanted to be a boy, but just because I wanted to be comfortable. I played sports, that's what I loved. And just long hair was, you know, problematic a little bit. And from that moment, I was taken as a boy. Oftentimes, I was mistaken for a boy, and I was called like how to say it, boy, girl, and I was just bullied. You know, I was bullied at school for some time
for being a tomboy.
For being a tomboy, yes, and yeah, I had some friends, but I had lots of problems at school because of that. And some issues with the teachers that would tell me that, you know, I should look different or wear more girly clothes and stuff like that. And I think those were the triggers that, you know, they didn't make me more girly. It was the other way around. I was, you know, I was sad and mad, I'd say, you know, that I have to play someone else in order to be a girl or a woman. And that's been for few years like that, you know. It started when I was about 11, 12, and that went on. But I never thought about transitioning when I was 12 or 13 or 14, because I never knew that there was something like LGBT. I was one of a kind in my school. Maybe there was another girl that was kind of similar, but I had no one to kind of refer to, you know, to kind of be in the, I don't know, LGBT community. Also, I never thought I would be homosexual or anything like that up until some point, you know, because people looking at me, they interpreted it, you know, you might be homosexual or something like that, just because I had short hair and I looked more like a boy than a girl, you know, and they started putting all those ideas onto me. And that lasted for years. And then I went to another school, to another city that was deliberate, just to avoid, you know, the people, because I was living back then in kind of a small town, even though I come from a big town. But my dad was a military, so he got directed to a smaller town. That's where we moved. And finishing middle school, I said, no, I'm not gonna go with those people to high school, because I knew I would meet them again, because the town was small. So I went to another city.
So can I just catch something there?
Yeah.
Because this is helpful to other people. So changing school was actually good for you. Leaving that environment.
I guess so, yes. At that time, yes. I thought it was, you know, a good idea, because I was tired of being bullied and stuff.
But then you went and you carried on with carry on.
Yeah, and then I went to high school to a bigger city in Poland still. And I kind of focused on the education. I didn't. I was also not a kind of a girl that would go, that would try to find a fiancé or something. You know, I was interested into sports and music, and I really didn't think about being either hetero or homosexual. I just didn't think about being sexual. You know, I was a kid, and I think it's a really false idea that if you are 14, 15, or 16, you have to have a fiancé and engage, you know, because everyone else does it, you know. And I was also bullied for that, because everyone was like, yeah, you don't have a boyfriend because I'm ugly and stuff. And I also started thinking I'm indeed ugly, you know, and I really thought about myself, I was ugly. So those are a lot of complexes, if you may say so. And then after first grade, people were staring at me sometimes, and I still was kind of mistaken for a boy. So I tried to wear more feminine clothes, even though I didn't like them back then, just to, you know, to people not throw me out of the, you know, ladies' restroom, you know, because that was problematic. And I went to a kind of good school, so the teachers would look at how you actually dress, which I think in a way was good. You know, they didn't tolerate very extreme looks, and I think it's good when you look now at the kids.
I think so as well.
Crazy, but it was not Catholic or anything, you know, so so not conservative. And after first grade, we emigrated to the Netherlands, and I went to an international school, and then it really changed my setting. You know, everything was new for me, and I thought it would be good. You know, finally I ended up with some tolerant people that are accepting and stuff, and that's where the hell started, really, to be honest. Yeah, so there was this. I spoke.
So it's interesting that you say you found the tolerant and accepting people, and that's when the problem started.
Yeah, exactly, because I was because you know the problem was that I was thinking that there is a problem with me, but there was not a problem with me, you know, and there's not a problem with you or anyone else that you are more feminine being a male or you're more masculine being a female, you know. What does it mean anyways, being a feminine or masculine, dressing?
Exactly.
So there was not a problem with me, there was a problem with my thinking and people around me, right? And yeah, I think there were a lot of triggers throughout my lifetime that that contributed to that. Like my grandma, she would, you know, in a goodwill, she would force me to like wear dresses and wear nice, you know, because we're going to the church on the Sunday, you know, morning and stuff. And I was mad, you know, I hated that. So all this stuff, you know, was uncomfortable for me. But I never, you know, being in Poland, I never like changed my nickname or my pronouns or anything, you know. I never did that. It's just in the Netherlands I met people that told me that, you know, you can do that and you don't have to you know, you can stop the struggle, you can just be yourself and stuff, and that's where it all started, you know.
Yeah, which on the surface is very good. I mean, let's just be clear, like I think there's two different things here. There's affirming the idea that you can change your sex, which is dangerous, which we're going to talk about. Yeah. But then there's acceptance and tolerance, which I think is good. So because what struck me also is that, you know, and I told you a little bit about my own experience, but there was this idea that you must be, that you can't be in the middle. You can't be a little bit feminine and a little bit masculine. You have to be either very masculine or very feminine. Okay. And I've read some interesting stuff that suggests that that's quite specific to the anyway, to certain cultures. Okay. There's other cultures that don't worry about it so much. Yes, of course, there's obvious, you look at people and you can see they're feminine, or you look at people, you can see they're masculine. That's across all cultures. But I experienced it at a young age as well, where I started dressing alternative. Okay, so there was nothing, I won't pretend like there was anything to do with femininity there, but I was certainly rebelling at the age of 11 already. I was walking around in cargo pants and baggy t-shirts, and I didn't want to be seen as a typical male, you know. So I was what we used to call gender bending, you know, which is different. I was doing it deliberately, but I certainly wasn't trying to sort of become more, I wasn't consciously trying to become more feminine. And the thing is, the thing that we point out that you and I kind of spoke about yesterday was the gender, the stereotypes of gender that are enforced on us by other people, which cause a lot of these problems. So to the point that people need to be more open to tomboys and to feminine boys and to boys like me that are more alternative, that want to explore, especially in adolescence. I mean, now I'm not interested in doing that, you know, but when I was younger, I wanted to see, well, what do I look like as this, and what do I look like as that, and ultimately what I'm doing, you know, from a psychology perspective, ultimately what we're doing is we're exploring what actually works for us. Okay, so you do something. You know, when I was young, I shaved my head and I had a Mohican down the middle of my head. I was like 12 years old. And I did notice the teachers didn't like it, but the girls did. Okay. And I was like, this is great. You know, as a 12-year-old kid, there was nothing sexual about it. There was nothing predatory about it. I just liked the attention, okay, from certain people. So what we do is we go from that strategy to a different strategy. Then we change the strategy the next year. We're supposed to do that. So what I want to emphasize is that, you know, if you'd been allowed to be fluid with your identity, some of these things wouldn't have happened. Some of the problems wouldn't have happened, you know. But I'll let you carry on. Rather, you carry on telling
Yeah,
us.
that's okay. Yeah, for me it's a different story. I actually never liked to have attention on me. That's I never played with looks, and that's also another thing that always kind of annoyed me. That like at certain point, okay, girls get their period. No one likes it, really. Believe me. And there's no 12 or 13-year-old girl that likes to have a period. Come on, it's annoying
No.
and it's painful and stuff. So that is usually one thing that rises. That, oh, I hate my period, so I might not be a girl. You know, that's I see nowadays how
Yeah,
they interpret it.
Yeah.
For me, it was I never cared about my look. You know, I never bought into the idea that I need to be attractive to males. But everyone told me that if you're a girl, you need to be attractive. You need to, you know, look
You
nice.
need
And
to
I
be.
fucking
Yeah.
didn't care about it. You know, I just
Yeah.
wanted to play, and you know, I ride my skateboard. I don't care about it being attractive to the boys. You know. And that's one idea. Or you need to shave your legs, or you need to do and this and that. You know, there's a lot of constraints on females. Same on males, right? You don't cry, you have to be tough and stuff.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
I learned that once but maybe we'll talk about it later. Once I kind of transitioned to the other side, and I could feel what's you know the burden of that there is on males also, you know, in the
Yeah.
cultures.
Yeah.
Nothing you know lighter than so
Yeah. Yeah.
so
There's
yeah.
expectations. So that's the gender stereotypes that I was talking about. Um, I mean, that's what I was sensitive to. So my sensitivity came from a very strict father and a very, well, I grew up in a very violent environment. Okay. So the expectation was you must be violent.
Okay.
Okay. You should be violent. And I didn't want to be violent.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to do that, you know. So, you know, just so people understand, I grew up in South Africa. I grew up really poor, and I grew up in a very bad environment. There were drugs and guns and crazy things. My family was quite aggressive. It was a very bad environment. But in that environment, I looked around and I saw what I saw was, you know, perpetrators were usually men, and the victims were usually women. You know, and I mean, I know a lot of people listening to this are going to say, well, that's true. That's society. Okay. But of course, we're very biased. And there's some studies that have been done on this about how we bias these things, but I'm not going to get into that. But the expectations of your gender that are imposed on you, they kind of erase your identity. And then in response to that, you're gonna find ways to resist, you know, which I think is normal. But that's I think because I just want to sort of tie what is actually going on with the trans people at the moment is that instinct is being hijacked by certain people who think that affirmation and sex change surgeries are a solution to something when that's not really the solution. But I'll let you carry on.
Yeah, I think I never kind of agreed with the expectations of being like a girl, you know, in school, for instance. You know, I then started interpreting that like boy world in a way is more interesting because they play, they do cool stuff. If they get into the fight, they just go beating and stop, you know, while the girls are, you know, they're more like psychological fights, you know, they would be terrible. They would be chatting one about the other. And I hated that word, you know, I hated the girly way of, you know, talking about other people. And then, and all the idea you have to have lipstick and makeup and I don't know what, you know, when you're 15. So that's why I did not agree, you know, on. And also I didn't agree on the idea that if someone offends you, you still have to be nice, you know, that there was this idea that the girl still needs to be kind of intact and nice. You cannot be violent. You cannot respond with violence if someone, you know. And I was like, no, fucking not. You know, if you try to offend me, then I'm gonna also kind of be aggressive. And I was sometimes. So, but there were a lot of stuff I kept inside me, and I think, like, you know, I never told my parents that I was bullied. I never told my teachers that I was bullied. You know, or I think there was even a psychologist at school. I never went to her. That's also weird that we don't kind of trust anyone sometimes, you know, the teens, when we're in teenage years, and you keep that within yourself, and at some point it either bursts out, or you're suicidal, or, you know, it just, you keep it to yourself for years. And
we spoke yesterday about the because you know, you're talking about aggression. I think the fact that there's psychologists and counselors at schools should be a good thing, but we're seeing now how it's those people that begin the affirmation process. Okay, as soon as the child starts presenting differently, they end up at the school
but back then,
counselor.
I think they would not be affirmative to me, you know.
They wouldn't have done it. That was in Netherlands.
No, that was, I'm talking, I just came back to the earlier childhood, let's say, you know, like 20 years ago. So but in the Netherlands, I never seeked a psychologist, you know. I found a magical group that solved all my problems, you know. So
okay, tell me about that.
I told you about this, what was that, Gay Awareness Day, or whatever it was called, you know, at the beginning of the school year in the Netherlands. And there were a few guys that came, and one guy that was talking about, you know, you can be like, you can have a different sexual orientation. All right, of course you can have a different sexual orientation, because you have to know that this is an international school, so there were people coming from like really different backgrounds, you know. There were guys from Australia or Afghanistan, or, you know, all sorts of cultures. And so they were trying to kind of introduce them to the, you know, European world in a way, and me including, right? So this was this Gay Awareness Day, and there was this person that identified as queer, I believe, or gender fluid or whatever, with just, you know, colorful hair. And we chatted for a while, and she said that you know, you can come and meet some people, maybe you never had anyone in Poland, blah blah blah, you know, that would understand you and stuff. And that's how I got hooked, you know, because because she seemed so friendly and you know, accepting and stuff, and that's, I got sucked, you know, in the leftist world for a while. But so still,
no, tell me what, you know, what did they do? I mean, you know, it's again, I think I said
she
this
said, for instance, that you can you know, you have to know the specificity maybe of a of cultures, of course, but also of a language, you know. For instance, Polish is a very gendered language. Like, everything has a gender. You conjugate every word by gender, basically.
Very
you know?
Good points,
and you don't have, fortunately, but they're trying to change it, to force it, like third gender stuff, you know. You don't unless you call an object, you know, the kind of thing, it always refers to an object, not to a person. But if
it's
it's
the same
person,
in Swedish is like that as well.
A person, an animal, and a living thing has a gender, you know. It's either male or female. And so she said that, you know, actually if they mistake me, or well, she started actually, that was from the outside, that I got an idea that I might be uncomfortable with my gender, you know. That's the first thing, you know, because I was mistaken for a boy, but I either didn't correct it, just, you know, never mind, I'm in the shop and I'm not gonna explain to people I'm a girl, you know, which is, I don't care. But I started caring later in life, and that you can play with pronouns and stuff, you know. And it's not really a play. You can, of course, you can be in the middle, as we said. You can be more feminine being a guy, and vice versa. But once you start to refer to yourself different pronouns, once you're more feminine, or once you're more kind of on the, like, male or female, I think it really messes up with your mind. That's how it worked with me, you know, because you stop knowing who you really are, you know. You always kind of fluid, you know. And as long as I knew that, okay, I like wearing baggy clothes and I like playing football and stuff, but I'm still a girl, even if they mistake me for a boy. It's kind of solid identity, I would say, you know. But once you start playing with this stuff, you really can get crazy. That's how I experience that, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So no, look, I mean, from a psychology perspective, I talk about this often. As soon as you start destabilizing the principles of of everything, your identity, your worldview, your values, all those things, you start rolling the dice, because now you don't know what the outcome is going to be. So I don't, you know, me and many other people say that, well, why complicate your life further? You know, it's not necessary to complicate your life to that extent. Hello. So, well, I think that's nice to see. Do you want to introduce?
Yeah, that's my son. He's 3.5, so he's probably not gonna talk much in English, right?
Okay.
But he understands something. So
well, the timing was perfect, because we explained who you are, and in walks your son.
Yeah, and my son walks in. Yes, so that's my lovely son. I'm really happy mother, I'd say, for the past.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So I'm so blessed that I have, you know, I could get pregnant. I didn't go far enough. Mikushu.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so he's gonna. Okay.
So just to explain to everyone, we just had to deal with the son in the meantime. But as I said, I think that was beautiful that after that story, you know, a lot of parents will watch this, Natalia, and one of their fears is that their child will never experience having their own children, you know. And we saw, I mean, I don't know if you've heard, but just last night, the WPATH files were released. It's all over Twitter. It's a big controversy because it's recordings and text from the WPATH meetings where that you can see them laughing at the idea that 14-year-olds will lose their fertility. So these are members and leaders and members of WPATH that are laughing about this. So I thought that was a good moment to talk about that, because that just got released last night. And okay, by the time this gets released on the 12th of March, I'm sure there'll be more content. But just to mention that you know, everyone can see, if you go back a couple of seconds in this recording, you can see how Natalia lightens up as soon as her son enters the room, you know, and what a beautiful boy as well, you know. So
with a long hair, but he's a boy, so and I'm putting that into his head, you know. No matter what they say to you, you're a boy, you know. And
you're a boy. You might have long hair, you might have whatever, but you're still a boy. Yeah. Look, I you know, I talk to detransitioners and trans people as well, because my own journey in this, I won't talk about it too much because I've spoken about it in other places, but I had body dysmorphia, which was basically anorexia for 7 years between 16 and 23. And it was very much, I realized later, it was very much because I didn't want to become my father. So I was suppressing the masculine in me, you know, but I wasn't, I think the difference is I wasn't embracing the feminine. I was suppressing the masculine, but I wanted to be my own type of man. I didn't want to be more feminine, you know. So there is a difference there, but I certainly understand like what the thinking was at that stage of life, of like, how am I going to deal with being an adult? So you look forward and you say, how am I going to function as an adult woman or as an adult man, you know? And we look at our role models around us and we make judgments based on that, because, well, what else are you going to do, you know? But really what should be happening is we should be encouraged to, which is of course what we do. We seek to encourage you to explore, what are you going to become? And that's why I wanted to talk to you and record this today, because I think that's what you've done. You've become, there is only one Natalia, you know, and there should only be one Natalia. That should always be. But Natalia is a female and she's gone on to have a child. You've gone on to do, I'm sure, lots of other wonderful things.
I'm still planning, to skateboard with my boy, and and that doesn't. And even if I went with my son last time, and someone told to me that they mistake me for a guy, but I don't care anymore, because I know who I am by now. I've grown this 10 years, I think, the last 10 years, and no matter what someone sees, on the outside, I'm still me, and that's I think that's fundamental, to not get lost.
There was another thing, just to remind you, there was another thing we spoke about yesterday about being isolated from the family. Remember?
Yeah. The time so maybe we should go back a bit in the history. So I actually finished the high school in the Netherlands, still didn't do anything, about my gender, whether it be social or not social. I was still like cutting my hair short or whatever, wearing boy clothes. And then the school ended and I got into a real depression, like I don't know what's happened, but for like 1 or 2 years I would like that was the time that people were choosing their studies, the universities and stuff. Some of them were taking a gap year, so-called, just traveling the world, whatever. That was really popular, and I didn't know what to do with myself, like I couldn't picture myself anywhere. And I kind of, stayed home and laid in bed for like 1 or 2 years. I got really depressed, and I was, and then after a year we moved to Belgium, and I had, that was another challenge because in the Netherlands you could easily communicate in English, and the people would speak English. And then we went to Belgium, and that got a bit worse because they either spoke Flemish or French, which I did not know anything. I spoke other languages because I liked languages, but not French, and then that's a bit of a challenge. And I felt isolated, and then I all those thoughts were coming to my head because I had nothing to do. My parents did not force me to study or did not force me to anything. That was also kind of weird. I think I don't want to judge that, but I think as a loving parent, you kind of have to once demand something from your kids in a way, kind of guide him, I'd say, right? In some ways. But they had a lot also their marriage problems. I think they kind of didn't see what was happening.
Okay.
So they would not pay too much attention. And I got depressed, and I started drinking. My parents did not know that, but I started drinking alcohol like habitually and a lot, and I became a little bit bulimic also. I had I would just go out basically for like eating candies mixed with alcohol, so that nothing my life went. And at some point, and then I got involved very much into the online trans community, Polish trans community, kind of to connect with people speaking my language, and kind of to just connect with people. And and I spent like hours and hours sitting by the computer and discussing stuff with people I don't know. And then I decided, okay, I'm gonna come back Poland for studying. I had to have some kind of excuse for my parents, to go back. And so I went studying. I kind of that was my idea. So I'm gonna go Poland and turn guy, so that the idea came after like sitting a year by the computer. I decided, okay, I'm gonna be a man at the end. That fits me better. So I went to Gdańsk. It's North Poland, and I went studying psychology, because I thought that would solve my problems, and that fucking didn't solve my problems. But I went studying the psychology because I imagined, okay, so I'm gonna live alone, and my parents won't kind of have a word in that anymore. I'm gonna kind of live my own life. And I went there studying psychology, and I introduced myself to my flatmates as a guy. That was And I didn't tell my parents, you know, I think they kind of knew what was happening. They suspected. The problem is that I don't know how it's in your culture or in yeah, in just your family, but in my family, we even though I come from kind of an average family, but average means we just don't talk about important stuff, you know. We don't talk openly about important stuff, and that's
Very common.
very common, I think, and that's the thing. So they would knew there's something happening because I just shaved my head, you know. That was kind of a coming out without saying it, right? And at some point, yes, I did. I think before I went Poland, because I didn't have the courage to speak to them, you know. I kind of, there was something like boiling inside me, but I couldn't speak to them. No? Same as I couldn't speak to any of the teachers, you know, for the past 10 years that I have problems, you know. I'm kind of that person that would not go and speak immediately about my problems, at least back then. And and I wrote my dad a letter, you know, or a long, super long email. I don't remember if it was handwritten or email because I couldn't speak that out, you know. And that that I actually feel more like a guy and blah 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 and always be that, you know. I kind of made up a story, you know, which because it's not like I always felt like a guy. It's not true. I was always bullied for looking like a guy. It's not like I felt like a guy, you know. I don't know how the guy feels because I've never been one. So
You've
how
never
can
been one, exactly.
so yes, and then I went studying. Didn't end well because after like one semester, I still had a, you know, drinking problems. So like habitually, you know, I was stressed out, and the flatmates were not, you know, they were quite conservative. Like the guys knew I was not a guy. The girls were tolerant, but the guys not, you know, and there were kind of some fights, and so I stopped studying and I went working, and that was not good because I started working in a as a barista, you know, and yeah, but it was a place where you could drink coffee and alcohol and everything you think. So like I would work like long hours from 10 to I was home at like 11 p.m. and the next day again, you know, and I would at the last hour I was basically drinking, you know, because I was too tired to carry on. And that really put the strain on my body and everything. And then so I was kind of playing a guy, but some people knew, some people did not know, you know. I was treated not the way I wanted because I wanted to be an adult, but most of let's say 22-year-old trans boys look like 15-year-old boy, you know, because you don't have testosterone, so you're taken for a kid basically, and everyone treats it like a kid, right? So
how old are you now? How old are you now?
I'm 31.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You look good.
Okay, thanks.
Carry on.
And so yes, so I decided that, you know, I need to do something about myself to be taken seriously, you know, because people knew immediately that, okay, I play a guy, but once they talk with me, they know I'm not a guy. And you have to know that 10 years ago in Poland, it was really different than now, because now I think, you know, that now there's this hype for awareness. And when I look back 10 years ago, it was really different world. You know, you were in a vast minority to, you know, people would not understand, people would not know what's that. So some of them will think, okay, I'm just a tomboy, or I'm just, you know, original or whatever. But some of them would, you know, not be okay with that. And the problem is I was not okay with that, you know. So I think that's the baseline. But then I started to research about transsexuality, and that went further. And I thought, okay, I kind of fit more with the guys, with the boys. So yes, and and I started researching what's transsexual, how to deal with that and stuff. And then I, got to know about the hormones, about everything. And to be honest, everything scared me as hell. I was, because I'm scared of the needles. I hate needles. I'm really, if I'm to go to my blood test, I hate it. But then I thought, but there's no choice, kind of, because I've been always kind of mistaken. I've been, bullied. I have enough, so I actually bought the hormones illegally. I thought, okay, I don't have time. I don't have money for diagnosis and everything. So I just bought tea, and I started injecting myself with tea.
Can I just go back a few seconds? You said there was no choice. You felt like there was no choice.
Yeah.
Right. So now that you know better, what do you think the choice was?
The choice was to...
Because you did have choice. You just thought, you felt like you had no choice.
Yeah, I think the choice was, it's gonna sound weird, but the choice was to in the first place to have close and warm relationships in the family, So you so have that family setting that's supportive,
exactly.
That's gonna pick what's happening really in your because that's kind of impossible to not know anything what's happening with your kid, right? I think it's not really, but maybe, I don't know. But so in the first place, and then maybe to talk to some, but then most of the psychologists are becoming biased towards affirmation. So
recently.
So I went to a psychologist then because I thought, okay, I'm not good with myself. I start having like suicidal thoughts and stuff, like serious suicidal thoughts, and it's not going right. This being guy feels better, but doesn't feel good, and after injecting myself with testosterone, like the first 2 shots were kind of, I was excited. I was, because you immediately feel kind of stronger. It's not really stronger, but testosterone works that way. So I was hyper, and I would drink even more because I didn't know what to do with that kind of energy that I can't, manage, because I'm not male. So I believe the female body just does not take that, well. So I started playing, like I started running like crazy and drinking in the same time. So that was really hell, for my body. And injecting myself with testosterone was like, it's really, I don't know, it messed up with my, I believe, brain in a way, because it does affect your, I don't know what it's called. It's not, the stuff you have above your kidneys. Anyways, the hormone system, adrenals. It plays like with the adrenals. And I started feeling really bad, both physically and psychologically, because I stopped knowing who I am really. Like
so your dysphoria, because now we call it dysphoria.
Yeah.
Okay. And dysphoria is just the opposite of euphoria. Okay, some people don't understand what dysphoria is.
Yeah.
So you felt dysphoric, which is really to say you felt distressed because of these effects that you were experiencing. And I just want to point out, just to paraphrase what you said, is that once you took the testosterone, you actually felt more dysphoric.
Yeah, I didn't feel like, I'm not sure if dysphoric is, it's right. Maybe, we can call it that way, but it's just, I didn't feel like, I thought that it would give me some mental peace, but it did not, and I felt like, Jesus, I don't know who I am now, and
I agree that the word dysphoria is not correct, but I prefer saying distress, because if you feel an imbalance, you feel distress. And I think it's more helpful to say, well, I feel distress about my identity, instead of saying dysphoria, because we don't know what that means anymore. People have changed the meaning. But carry on.
Yeah, and I think also my feeling was that, I thought that like becoming a real guy was my last chance. And then when I tried it and it doesn't work out, I felt like, my goodness, there is no like, how to say it? Like, what do I do now? I thought that would be the place I'm gonna be happy in. but I am not, you know.
Mm.
And it also affected my body really badly. And yes.
How did it affect your body?
Well, I got some, I got really, how to say, inflamed, you know, like you know, I got a terrible acne like I've never had before. And I just felt bad, you know, I felt bad to the point that I didn't have energy to, you know, to go out of my bed, besides being depressed, but that's never been so bad, you know. And I got scared, you know, about my, you know, health and life in general.
Okay.
That I called my mom after like months of not speaking with her, you know, months or weeks without of not speaking. And I said, Mom, I just feel bad. And that's also interesting that we didn't speak for, I think, quite some time, because she got surprised by my voice, you know. They didn't know I would inject myself with tea. That was a shock to them also, I think, you know. We spoke via Skype or whatever it was, and my voice was really different from what they
You
had.
sounded like a stranger.
Yeah, I sound like a stranger, and I was a stranger to them, you know. So, and I said, okay, I think she knew what was happening, and I think I admitted, you know, I started taking testosterone. I've been mistaken for a guy anyways, you know. I was really depressed. I couldn't speak my mind very clearly, but there's something bad happening. And she took me because she's been in a like natural health stuff for she was always interested in that.
Can I ask you something? Just keep that thought, okay? The natural health stuff that your mom was using, but when you phoned your mom, what was, you see, because there's an idea around shame, okay, of shame of transitioning, shame of then wanting to detransition. And I just think each person's input is important, because, okay, you felt you could phone your mother, okay, but were you ashamed to phone her and say, this is what I've done?
Yeah, I felt really like, yeah.
So what made you think, what made you feel like you could phone her? What was it something she did or something that she said that you know, now we're months later and you thought, you know, of all people, let me phone the woman that made me. You know, you didn't phone a therapist, you didn't phone family, other family, you phoned your mother. What was it that made you do that? Do you remember?
When I think about it, it's quite, yeah, it's quite natural, as you said, right? I came out of her womb, so it's kind of, you know, you wanna come back to the, I think, to a safe place in a way, because, you know, I felt like I'm in the middle of a big dangerous ocean, you know. And I freaked out a little bit, and I really got scared, you know. Like I was 22 and I felt like shit, you know, like I was 90 years old. I had no energy
and
to
lost.
do anything. Yeah, I was scared. And yeah, there was, you know, our relationships are and were generally correct. It's just it's not, you know, I never had like violence at home or anything like that. It's just we didn't speak openly, you know. That's the point. So I was ashamed to admit that what I've done. And yes, but
did you
I think there was just a bit of this, there was like I trusted them enough, you know, like I could yeah, I think that's that they would
both
not
of them.
Yes, yeah, like I think my dad, he took it really badly when I told him like I wanted to be a guy. My mom, she was kind of okay with it, you know. I don't think she was okay, but it's just
did they tell you
different? So
did they warn you this is a bad idea, or what did they do?
Not really. They said, okay, that's what you choose, kind of, you know. But I saw a sadness and actually how to say it, yeah, it's they agreed because they couldn't do anything. Maybe they were scared that if they don't agree, they lose me or something, you know. Maybe
exactly. They all do. That's exactly what a lot of the parents I talk to are terrified more by the fact that they might lose their child look, they're terrified of all of this, but they prioritize, okay, I might lose my child, or I might have a child that's presenting differently. I think I'm prepared to accept my child presenting differently rather than lose them altogether. But unfortunately, what happens very often is the child pushes it so far that the parents have to, you know, what's the word, resist more. They have to say, for example, they'll say, we won't support you financially if you want surgery. And then the children stop talking to them to punish them, you know?
Yeah, you know, but heavily what I wanted to say even earlier, why the isolation from the parents and stuff? Because it's so encouraged sometimes in the trans community, you know, like for instance, I see people talking like, okay, so how do I tell my parents? They're not gonna accept it. And you know, and people would say stuff like, but why do they need to accept that? Or you can just move out and stuff. And that's kind of encouraging, you know, and a kid like 15, 16-year-old, like, how do you move out? You know, you just, you know, you leave school and just go, because many people that are encouraged this way, their lives are actually being destroyed. You know, there are people that just, I don't know, like skip school because they feel like they need to earn money just anywhere, you know, to go with transition, and they end up in a terrible place of their life, you know, instead of, I don't know, finishing some university or just, I'm not saying everyone has to finish the university, okay, take me right, but it's just people with the potential, they go for like easiest job just to get some bit of money to transition. And
so just for the people that are listening, I'm dealing with every single scenario that you just said. Okay, kids at 16 who think they can move out of home. Very bad idea, guys. I lived on my own. I told you yesterday, I lived on my own since I was 15. My father moved out and left me living alone at the age of 15. Okay,
it's tough, you know.
If any of the kids listening to this are contemplating this, it's a very hard life. Okay, and you have no idea how much your parents actually do for you, even if they're not the nicest people. You still don't understand how much they do for you. And that's a whole nother thing. But also the kids who move out to go and get work. There's some kids who change in America. They go to a different state to work for 1 year so that they can qualify for the gender medical aid that they get, the gender support in medical aid that they get in the other state. So sometimes the parents will live in this state and the kid will go and live this state deliberately, you know?
Yes, some guys I knew in Poland, they would usually go to Germany or to Great Britain because then you get
access.
You get paid in no, but the point is that they want to earn as much as possible in the shortest time, and it's easier when you earn euro or in pound, right? Or
exactly.
Something.
And then you mentioned university. I just want to see what you think of that. You know, my opinion is obviously education is important, but look, I studied psychology in midlife. So when someone says to me, we need to find a way to get them to register for university and to get them through university and everything. And I'm like, but what's more important here is your child's health. That's what's more important. So I'm glad that you said, you know, university is important, but it's not actually the most important thing.
No, that was just an example of people, not the university, but like people that especially when they get involved into an online trans community, or many people that are contemplating being trans, they get so obsessed about it that they leave everything around them, like, you know, they don't care anymore. They just focus on transition. Transition is the only goal, you know? And they would sacrifice everything for that, you know, family, friends, I don't know,
university,
and I'm not saying everyone should graduate, but I'm just saying that the transition pushes away sometimes everything around, and
everything,
that's the point.
Well, to come back to your mom, I'm very glad that you felt that you could phone your mom.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just curious about that, because she obviously left the door open in a way that you could phone her and you could say, look, this is what I've done. I need help.
Yeah, that was that bit of acceptance that I needed, like, because, you know, I've been a tomboy for like most of my life, and they were, you know, sometimes it was embarrassing in a way that we would go to the shop or to anything, post office, and they would say, oh, like to a boy to me, right? Because as I said, the Polish language is gendered. You cannot speak to
So
a person
they
without
choose.
referring to their gender, you know?
Mm,
And so that's the thing. And it's hard to avoid that. If you try to avoid that, it just sounds, you know, hilarious, you know. but
mm, mm.
but I know I hear non-binary, you know, people speaking now in kind of new Orwellian Polish language. I don't know how to call it. And so that would be those embarrassing moments, but I still felt like, you know, they love me, and they wouldn't say like yeah, they would never neglect me or anything, you know. I'm sure about that, you know. Even though their marriage is imperfect still, and was imperfect, they would still like love me. Just I think we lack some, generally we lack some skills, like as parents, you know. Generally, I
Mm.
also, you know, I'm constantly learning how to communicate with my 3.5 year
Yeah,
boy, you know, to
yeah,
never end up in a place where he feels like he can't speak with me about some stuff, you know.
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
So
So go back to your story. You said your mom was involved with natural healing
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah, she's still into herbs and stuff, and and I knew she would know how to help me, you know, in a way, because I got really, you know, I just got scared, you know. I just got scared to like what's gonna happen with my body and with my life, you know. That I was
Mm,
really scared that I might die. So you know, that was a scary moment, and that was also a trigger to me, you know. I think it was good in a way. And then she took me to a natural therapist close to Czech Republic border, and the lady said, you know, the lady said something like, first of all, she said she would not refer to me as to a guy, which was kind of uh, how to say it, like cold water on my head, you know, because everyone else was affirming, and I was
already.
already in my bubble, you know. Everyone is so
Yeah.
excited. I said no. But she said, you know, Natalia, can do whatever you want with your life. I don't care. But what you're doing to your body is going to kill you, you know? And that's what she said, because actually this testosterone injection, they triggered some very strong autoimmune response in my body, you know? That was kind of like I don't know, I think it was something like lupus, something really serious, you know, like something would
Okay.
infect all your body, you know?
Yeah.
And she said, don't do it, or if you do it, I'm not gonna help you, you know, because it's like, you know, going to a take, I don't know, cancer doctor, oncologist, and saying, yeah, okay, I'm having cancer, but I'm still gonna smoke. So what's he's
Yeah.
gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was her approach, and that's the point where I think that the healing process started in a way, you know, both mental and physical,
Mm,
because I
mm.
stopped injecting myself with this shit. But my head was messed up, you know, because I was already living as a guy. So to some people, I was just a guy, you know, I was presenting as a guy. And then at some point, I felt, okay, maybe I'm gonna be this kind of guy that doesn't do testosterone. And you know, it lasted for months. It's not like I went out of this, you know, overnight. Maybe I'll just do the top surgery without taking testosterone. You know, I had lots of ideas. I was still stubborn, you know, on the idea I had to become a guy, even though I was scared of the surgeries. I was very scared. And
Yeah.
but I felt it's what you need to do, you know. That's
Yeah.
what the trans community told me. You're probably trans. You probably need this and that. And they would also find a explanation to anything, you know. You would say, I'm so fucking scared of the surgery, and they would say, no, but it's normal, it's gonna pass, blah blah blah, you know. I feel bad on the testosterone, no, but it's normal, it's gonna pass, you're gonna adapt, you know. They would find explanations for anything. So yes. And then it lasted for months before I decided to detransition, I mean socially, and to say no, I'm not. I'm not actually. I called myself Michael. You know, so that's funny.
Uh-huh. So can I ask you, how old were you?
Then probably 24, something like that.
Okay. So just for everyone listening, this keeps coming up, okay? For me as well, my anorexia started going away when I was 23. I then was an alcoholic for a year. I started coming to my senses around 24, 25, okay? So we know this, guys, in psychology, people listening, we know this, that the prefrontal cortex only is fully developed around 25. Okay. And if you've gone and complicated your life by adding other things into your system or being anorexic, it only develops later. So I keep joking with people. People meet me now and they're like, oh, you seem so together and so whatever. But I'm 50, guys. I'm 50. When I was 28, I was a pain.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm 50 now. And as a man, I think, look, I had some things that on the one hand, I had to grow up at 15, okay, because I had to become, but I had to become responsible at 15. That doesn't mean I grew up. Okay. I mean, I heard someone the other day say that their child at 17 told her that he taught his psychiatrist everything he knows about gender. This is the 17-year-old. Okay. I mean, this is frankly, it's laughable. You know, there's you can become responsible at 15 like I did, okay, but that doesn't mean you're wise, okay? And in terms of understanding, reasoning, and rationalizing, it only starts working around 24, 25. And then like me, I'm happy to tell people, I only started questioning who I really was around 28, and I only became, I would say, a self-aware, like properly self-aware around 33, okay? So my point is, with a lot of the work that I do, is that we need to make people understand that yes, this is a journey, but it involves lots of things. And the last thing you want to do is lock yourself into one identity. It's the last thing you want to do, you know, with surgeries, with things that can't be changed, that can't be reversed, you know. But just to be clear, you didn't actually get surgery in the end.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that. But carry on.
Yeah, but also I think what's because when you ask what my mom did so I could turn to her with for help, I think also in the process of like okay, we can call it the transitioning, you know, when the lady told me stop taking tea, you know, it's gonna kill you, and then I thought, okay, it doesn't make more sense to play being a guy. It's kind of, I think there was their love, I mean my parents, and kind of this Jesus space they gave me, you know. We were not rich maybe, but they would give me that space. Okay, so now, you know, rest, you don't have to go to work, you don't have to study at that moment, just, you know, kind of get clear with yourself. They wouldn't say that explicitly, but I could take a rest and just kind of settle back into my Natalia's identity, you know, like the one I was born with. And
did you move back home? Did you move back home?
I did move back home.
Okay.
Then I went for a trip with my dad to United States. That was interesting, but I still look like a guy, you know, because first of all, in my wardrobe, I had always and for all my life boys' clothes, right? So it didn't change much, and people would mistake me for a boy, but we were kind of okay. Maybe my dad also realized that that's okay. They mistake me. That doesn't make any, you know,
doesn't matter.
It's not embarrassing. It's nothing, you know. It doesn't mean anything. People are different, you know, and you can. When now I observe there are some, like especially older ladies, when they cut their hair and they estrogens stop working the way they used to, right? They sometimes also look quite masculine and without identifying as anything, you know. So anyways, and so I took that time to I can't count it, you know, in months or years. It's really hard for me now to kind of be very precise. But then, you know, actually because I think that might be also important for the people that want to detransition, but they fear doing that, you know, because I thought I was for like months, I would still live as a guy without taking testosterone. First of all, because, you know, I got used to that. Second of all, because I still look like a guy, so I thought it will be easier in a way, you know, that's crazy. But and second of all, I thought like, okay, I transitioned, they thought I'm crazy. Now that I did transition, they will think I'm totally nuts, you know, like what you know, everyone will stop trusting me, you know, or anything like that, or taking me seriously. They think I'm just, you know, psychiatric. And so I would live with a thought that I don't want to be a guy anymore, but still would continue that. And the worst part was that there were still some old friends, old family that never knew I ever, you know, tried being a guy. There were those people that knew me only as a guy, and there were those people that knew me as both. And that was crazy. And I always feared that they might meet somewhere, you know. And I was you know, playing like in a theater, you know. I was for those people I was different, for those I was different, you know. And that also you know, messed with my mind. I felt like an actor, you know. But then eventually, to my closest friends, meaning not the ones that were in the trans community, because you know, I also it felt like you're betraying someone, you know, once you change your kind of identity back. I felt like maybe I'm betraying the trans community or anything. They also will make you feel that way, you know, that you're betraying them, anything. So those relationships I just lost, but my like people knew me for years, and from when I was young, they remained with me, you know, for all that. And so yeah, I slowly kind of
Finish
back.
what you were saying. You started saying something about why it was okay to tell your mom that you regretted what you did. There was, I think there was something you were still finishing, like
I think I actually never, you know, the process, maybe when as we talk, it's not finished, you know. I just got to realize that we never talked openly with my parents up until now, what has happened, why it has happened, you know. I think maybe it would be of good value, you know, to talk about that, you know. That surely it's gonna be tears and everything, you know. That's not gonna be easy, but
a lot of your journey was away from your parents. You didn't transition at home.
Well, I moved back and forth, back and forth, you know. Because I tried studying multiple things, and my parents were living still in Belgium, and I didn't have much educational options there because I didn't know French, and there was only the options in English were very limited, and that's one thing. Another thing is I did not like being abroad, really, you know. I was never happy to move abroad. I'm happy in here, so I always moved back to Poland to study, and I always failed, you know. At that weird times I could not focus on the study, so I came back and again. So I would.
Why did you fail?
I was so unstable, I think, mentally, you know. That was one thing. I could not decide what I want to do with life. That's one thing. Another thing is I could not just focus, you know, like I could not sit and focus on studies. That was challenging to me. Don't know why. But yes, so...
Do you think, I wonder if it would have been better if someone said to you, I mean, how were you able to keep studying? Were your parents paying, or were you getting a study program, or how you were doing it?
You know, I don't know if you know, Poland, as they say, is post-communist country, and we have studies for free. So that's
okay.
At least the day program is for free, and so but of course you need some money for just living, right? So I never got any scholarship. So for like basic needs, let's say my dad was supporting me, so he would never say like, okay, I'm gonna cut your finances, right?
Okay.
Those are not that kind of parents.
What do you think?
So I'm fortunate enough I didn't have to take radical, you know.
I think it's generally good. I mean, I think people obviously I live in Sweden now. I'm not Swedish, but I live in Sweden now. And I mean, I've got a friend here in Sweden who is, I mean, he looks like a Viking. He looks just, he's like
Okay.
this big guy with a beard and tattoos and
Okay.
awesome guy. But he's 30, I think he's 34.
Okay.
And he resigned from his job. He had a very good job, resigned from his job to go study to be a nurse.
Okay.
And I mean, in South Africa, that is like insane. You'd be committed if you did that. I don't know where you'd commit to because there's no hospitals anyway, but people would think you're crazy, you know.
Hard and badly paid job everywhere, I think.
Yeah. But he's very passionate about it. He's got his reasons. Okay, he's got some personal reasons he wants to do it as well. He wants to be a psychiatric nurse in particular, which I think is very noble of him. But I wanted to ask you. So, what do you think? Because I know some of the parents watching this are going to wonder, if your father said, "I will not support you anymore," what would that have done? What do you think you would have? It's hard to know, I know. But what do you think you would have done?
Yeah, I think I would have involved in some shitty jobs and just, yeah.
But you think you would have carried on being transitioning?
It might, yeah, it might have adapted, to the whole idea, but I'm not sure. It's hard to predict whether that
hard to say, yeah. So why did you? What stopped you getting surgery then?
I don't know. I'd say a blessing, maybe, because I just the moment that this lady told me, that I'm, because she was really wise, this natural therapist. She informed me about all the health issues I might have and what I'm doing to myself. It's totally unnatural, it's fighting with nature actually. And she also said one thing: you're gonna get crazy if you do that, because it's not you, you're playing someone. So she was kind of, I don't know if she had a psychological background, maybe not. She was just
but it's obvious as well.
And so I was like, okay. And there was this moment that I just I just surrendered, I just said, okay, so whatever,
Tell me what to do.
Yeah, first of all, I came to realize, okay, half of my life I was trying to prove I'm not a boy, right? Because they mistaken me for a boy. And then the second half of my life, I tried to prove, no, I'm a boy eventually. So because, and then I said, fuck no, I'm not gonna try to prove I'm someone, I'm just, so that was this moment of kind of, I just
stopped trying.
I just stopped trying to be someone, and
stop trying to be. I mean, look, I'm so glad you said that, because this is what I do with the trans and non-binary people that I deal with. I say to them, if they feel presenting as the opposite sex is working for them, that's fine. But I'm more interested in what are you focusing on? Where is your energy going? Because if all your energy is going into presenting one way or the other, you're missing out on life and like your natural.
I remember being so self-obsessed, when I was in the trans period of my life. I was really obsessed. I would look in the mirror like 100 times, even though I was a guy, and I thought that's what the girls do, right? Ironically enough, just to look, do I look masculine enough? Do I look, I don't know, do they see my breasts or anything? I would wear layers of clothes, even if it was really warm outside. That's crazy, just to hide my body. And
men don't do that. I mean, if you want to be a man, but men don't do that. So it's like, well, what are you?
Yeah. That's
some men do. I mean, obviously, some men do that.
Sure. So I became really self-obsessed. I must admit that, and egocentric, because you concentrate on, a lot of energy goes into that. That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So that's the part. You see, I came into this this whole issue because my approach to psychology is existentialism, and existentialism says, really, are you living or are you dying? Are you facing life? Are you tackling life? Are you because you build existential guilt from not living the life that you could have lived. And that is very much tied to you individually as your sex living the life that you could have lived. Okay, so if you start living a different life, you're automatically not living the life you could have lived.
Yeah.
You as an individual, you know. So there's an existentialist issue with living as. So the subtle distinction, presenting a little bit masculine, a little bit feminine is not the issue, but it's what you were talking about is all the energy going into maintaining this pretense that you are something you're not. Instead of just being, just let me be who I am actually, which is a tomboy.
You know? Actually, you know, after all that years, now I'm kind of, you know, there are days that I wear skirts, there are days that I wear, you know, how to say it, a tie, if I because I always liked ties. I don't know, I always liked ties, and I don't even label it, you know, whether it's masculine or feminine. It's just clothes, you know. And
that's easy.
and the thing is that when no one pushes me, I like to wear skirts now, you know. So being 31, I don't know, for the past 2-3 years, I frequently wear skirts just because no one tells me that I have to do that, you know. And that's the thing. So those, without thinking about it, you know, do I look more masculine or more feminine today? I don't care.
You don't think about it anymore.
No, I think I'm liberated from that in that way, you know. And still, to be clear, sometimes I wear like I wear something more baggy and I don't wear makeup, and people would still tell me Mister or something, and I'm like, and I just correct them without any shame or anything like that, you know. There was like last time I had an incident with a guy that would be so persistent on talking to me with male pronouns, and I was like, okay, whatever, you know. But I think that's ironic enough. Maybe he thought that it's correct now, you know, that because we live in the times that you never know how someone identifies. You might offend them without knowing, you know. We have ideas. You might, that you have to respect pronouns and stuff, and so maybe he thought that I, you know, I kind of how to say it, that it would be good to talk to me
he thinks he's being sensitive, but he's actually being silly.
Sensitive. Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe he was just getting confused. I mean, I think it's
maybe just getting confused. Yeah.
Look, when you talk to people that are very stressed in their own lives,
sometimes it's hard for me because you know, my voice is not maybe very low, but I think, and that's also important stuff I wanted to tell people before they play with testosterone, that testosterone makes very fast and permanent damage to your vocal cords, and that's something I've been struggling with for years, you know, like for after stopping the tea, and it was just 3 months, you know, in total. I had a permanent sore throat, you know, like for years I've been like
for years
having issues with my vocal cords. And that's really annoying to me because I love music, I love singing, and I try to, you know, learn to sing. And it's really annoying. It's one of those scars that I have from being a trans guy. And I think it's important that people realize, no, it's not like it's not gonna leave a mark on your body. Each, you know, injection of testosterone will leave something on your body, you know. Like for instance, every day I need to shave before maybe I make like a permanent hair removal or something. Maybe I don't need to, but I just don't like this masculine birdie.
So your hair growth didn't change?
Fortunately for me, no, because I don't have bald guys in my family, but there are a lot of they get rather silver hair than gray hair than bald. So nothing that I noticed, but there are permanent changes in your body I didn't want to talk about them really, that remain with you, and that's I had to. It was also hard, you know. It was really hard for me to accept that I did damage my body, you know. I did it, you know. It's nothing. I will not come back to something that was before, you know. So I learned to accept my voice, because for the time I really hated it, you know, because once for instance, now when you shout or when you talk louder. I'm really scared about shouting because then I really sound masculine, you know. It's hard to kind of express your voice in higher registers in a feminine way, right? I'm still scared about it. Or when I sing, it goes like sometimes like the boy that goes through vocal mutation, whatever you call it, you know, when you grow up. So it's still annoying to me. It's not like I don't have scars, so let's say, you know, I have them. And but I think that's good.
In our detransitioner support group, we've got one person who had surgery on her throat because she was going to lose her voice. She was at risk of losing her voice, so she had to go get surgery. And anyway, she's releasing some of her own material on the 12th of March. But luckily, her voice has come back to, as far as I know, the same as it was, or just within a few decibels of what it was before because she was also singing. So she knew, she had recordings of her voice. And now she was very distressed about the fact that she sounded not like a man, but she sounded deep and she couldn't sing anymore, you know. So anyway, as I say, she was at risk of losing her voice. When I met her, she spoke. I told her this, so I'm not being insensitive. I did tell her, we discussed it in detail, and so she talks about this in the group as well. But she sounded like it took more effort for her to speak.
So for me, that's exactly the feeling I have, that I speak up until now with effort, you know, and people, and I you know, I sometimes I have to work with the voice because I do it's not often, but I do lectures for like candidates for driving for category B. And after speaking for like 2 hours, I'm exhausted, you know, my throat is, and 2 hours is not that bad, you know, the teachers all day long, and I speak with effort. Even speaking with you, I kind of feel that I have to put effort into that.
Getting tired,
I think testosterone really damages your vocal cords if you're female, you know, because kind of like unfinished mutation of the voice. And that's funny and not funny, because a few times I got involved into singing and I wanted to go to a choir, and that was terrible, you know, because she could not make me sing either with the alts or with the, like, she could not, she was like, Jesus, you have such a weird vocal range. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I could not sing with the higher voices or lower voices, you know. So
so just to finish, I know we spoke about like detransition.
Yeah, the detransition thing, I think that's what we've lost. Yes, so I think a lot of people, when they would hesitate to detransition because they've already settled their world as an opposite sex, right? And people know them as such and stuff. But I think I think it's just not worth living your life like playing someone you're not, you know, because you're gonna play for the people. That's really not worth, you know. Like, life is too geez, I'm gonna cry. I think it's just too precious, you know. So
it is.
Yeah,
it is 100%.
So like, I understand that people will feel like fear of rejection again, you know, and fear of like being alone and, you know, being laughed at, you know, because not taken seriously. But I still think it's worth it if you feel in your heart that it's not, you know, it's not going right, that it's not really you, then it's totally worth it, and you can find people that will support you, you know. And yeah, and I'm really blessed. I really feel blessed that I haven't, like, because of this doctor that told me I'm gonna, you know, kill my body and myself, that I didn't go further. I think it's just my luck, you know, that I didn't go further, because I was also stuck and stubborn, and I would go into this rhetoric that yes, I feel dysmorphic, and I actually started feeling physical dysphoria after a time, you know. After a time, I injected myself with testosterone because I wanted my image and my self-image to be kind of consistent, right? That I'm growing a butt, but I'm still having a female breast. There's something wrong about it, right? I never. Yeah. So I.
But you're actually making it worse.
Yeah. So to make it consistent, you know. So I started feeling the dysphoria after a time. So I was all into this trans feelings also. It's not yeah, but I think it's worth it to
you know,
to
one
go.
of the most common things, I've spoken to a lot of detransitioners, and one of the most common things I hear is, I knew when I went for the surgery that I had doubt. You know,
Yes, yeah, and they still do it, right? And
yeah, and I just, it amazes me that, you know, in law, for example, you know, the first thing we say to a jury,
and you
is we say,
even have the whole topic. Sorry to interrupt you, but I've seen many guys on the internet, and there's this post of depression, you know, and they will label it with the phenomenon like it's normal that you have post of depression because you just damage your body permanently, right? And
yeah,
yeah,
but not if you're trans. If you're trans, you must be happy after surgery. You
yeah.
know,
And also what I got to learn about, like, after, yeah, well, I just, you're right, this cortex prefrontal, whatever it is, it really does develop, and it takes time. It's just, it's not that trans people are not okay with their body. Like 98% of the Western population is not okay with their body. If you do realize this, like, I have a friend who's heterosexual 100%, right? Nothing about his gender, but he's like, oh, my belly, I hate my belly. And he's thinking about his belly, right? So it's not trans thing. It's yeah, we have issues with our bodies because of the culture that kind of enforces the idea that we are just our bodies, or what we, you know, consume by, or whatever, you know.
Exactly.
So, I think
exactly. So I told you yesterday, my process began when I was anorexic and I was working in advertising at the age between 19 and 23. I was working in advertising, and my recovery from anorexia began when I realized I was in an industry, advertising industry, which is its purpose is to convince people to buy things that they don't need. It's to convince you you're not fulfilled, you're not happy, you're not perfect. You need to buy this razor blade, this product, this face cream, this dress, this music, this whatever. Okay, it just never ends, you know. And I mean, obviously, in the mixed up in there is things that we do need, okay. But people underestimate how there are experts behind the scenes that are working to design things. Now, that was what I did was 30 years ago. Now we've got experts using algorithms, using social media, using sophisticated computers. They've got whole teams of people. They test things, and that's how we end up with the crisis that we've got since about 2012, where gender dysphoria has become a huge problem, but a whole bunch of other things have become a huge problem. Anorexia is even bigger than it was before. ADHD is even bigger than it was before. It's trans is just one part of a bigger package. So to talk about the trans crisis in isolation doesn't make sense, because there's a general mental health emergency, you know.
And it's really what I found in the trans community is that usually people have lots of other problems in their life, and then they don't kind of link it, you know, to this. And so yes, yeah, it's like sometimes I think like an easy way to go, you know, because when I also think about it, at some point trans ideas, being trans seemed so attractive to me, because at some point of life I didn't like myself so much that I wanted to kind of leave that person, you know, and being a trans felt like I'm gonna be now brand new person, someone else, but it's impossible, you know. You can travel to Australia, like some people seek sometimes kind of fulfillment in long travels, as if they would, you know, run away from them. But it's impossible to run away from yourself, you know. So
that's exactly it. Okay, well, let's stop, because I think
we went long. So
both our voices are getting tired.
Okay.
I mean, I talk all day long, so I have a good excuse.
You have to get rest.
Natalia, it was so nice to speak to you. I'm glad we met. Keep in touch, and we'll see what happens with these podcasts. You never know, maybe we can do something again in the future.
Yeah, why not? And that particular talk we just did, if you recorded it, and it will be somewhere I could maybe refer my friend to or something.
So it's going to be, exactly, it's going to be, I'm glad you asked. It's going to be released on the GenSpect site.
Okay.
Okay, obviously this has to be approved by them first. So,
but even if they do not approve, I mean, will you have it in your kind of private repository?
Yes, we'll have it in one way or the other. Yeah, we'll definitely have it.
Okay.
And it'll be
Because there were some
released.
friends asking me, like a friend, like, what are you gonna talk about with this guy?
Lots of things.
I'll show you.
And I mean, you know, so Natalia came to me through Magda, who's in Poland, who also did an interview with me. So she's on the same day's release.
Okay.
So it'll be through GenSpect on the 12th of March.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, people listening to this, you know, you can reach out to GenSpect. They have got lots of support for detransitioners, for gender questioning people in general. So there's an idea out there that GenSpect is like anti-trans, but it'd be very strange to be anti the people that you're trying to help. It's a very strange, I don't understand how they explain that idea. And like I said, with the WPATH files that were just released, it's obvious that the affirmation protocols were run by some very twisted people. If you watch these videos, it's
Can you link me to those files you just talked about, because I really don't know this.
Yeah, I'll send you something when we're finished. And then my support group that I run is on the Beyond Transition tab on GenSpect, and that's a support group for gender questioning people, and anyone can apply to be in that group as well. But yes, it'll be released through GenSpect on the 12th of March, 2024, and I will send you a link. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now.
Yeah, sure.